have to jump on. Okay, so we are live. Rudy, just go onto the YouTube video and then pop out the chat. Remember that pop out story.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there's anybody in chat or anybody joining, but they pretty much will be watching this on replay or join later. But welcome, guys. Welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching this. So what we're going to be doing today is we've got the cake base ready. Okay. Well, I would say 90% there. And there's a couple of apricots we want to mess around with. And once we've done that testing, we'll kind of be 95% there. That's what we're aiming to do. I've got Rudy here with me, or he was here. He'll probably hop into the video just now. So let me quickly share while we wait for Rudy to come back online. Oh, there he is. Hey, Rudy.
Yeah, I thought, yes, I'm back, sorry.
I was just about to introduce you.
Safari versus Chrome.
Are you on Chrome now?
I'm on Safari, but sorry, I was on Chrome trying to close the window, and because Mac and Windows, the buttons are the opposite way around, I pushed the wrong one. But I'm back. I'm up and running on Safari now.
Guys, for the people that don't know Rudy, it's Rudy on ATF. Go check out his profile. Rudy is part of the TFV crew, but he's also you've got your own juice line as well, right? And then we've got a collaboration one-shot line together.
Yeah.
How's that going?
One shot or commercial juice line, or both?
Both, yeah.
Well, the commercial juice line is a bit, it's because it's very trendy, and if you don't keep on releasing new stuff and have some firm favorites, and if you're not an established local mixer, it's difficult to compete with the international guys. So Nasty Juice and all these things with their bulk discounts seem to be a bit of a hindrance in the local market, and it's taking some of the market share away. But got something up my sleeve. We're releasing in a month and a half or so at VapeCon. We're going to be releasing something spectacular. Something's not around. It's never been done as far as I understand. Working on something nice. The one shot is always very popular and growing in popularity by the month, literally. And it's fantastic to see a new range of mixes that established and new that want to delve into DIY as a newbie, and their vehicle will be a one shot. So you've got the established guys that release a recipe, and then you can mix it up at home, tweak it a bit, add a bit of sweetener, add a bit of WS23, add extra cream, whatever you want to do it. So it lays the foundation, and it makes it cheaper. It's a cheap buy. You don't have to buy all the individual ingredients. I mean, one shots are fantastic, and most of the big guys locally have all released a one shot range. And with my new line as well, we'll also be doing a one shot once the main line is out. A one shot will follow as a secondary line.
Very cool. Yeah, that I mean, for those who don't know, we've got a collaboration one-shot line. It literally just started out as, us testing the market, I guess, see how it goes. And Rudy and Daniel opened up that collaboration line called Versus One Shots. You can find it at BLCK. And then, I joined a little bit later on. And now, it's like a whole line of one shots, and it is nice to see it grow. You can see it monthly picking up, and yeah, it's become sort of like a household South African name. So I'm super proud of that.
Yeah.
So, Rudy, we mixed up two bases. Okay, so let me just look at these two bases. Let me just quickly get that on my cell phone. Have you got them in front of you, Rudy?
I've got them open, yeah. So V1 I've got open. is 1.2 Flavor West Yellow Cake, 1 OOO Golden Sponge Cake, 1 Vape Train Golden Syrup, and 0.5 Flavora Vanilla Pudding. That was version 1.
And then there was another 1.2, which was just another route to pretty much the same thing, right? That was
so the version, what on version 1?
those were just 2 bases that were the closest.
Yeah, and then version 2 had a separate base, so we just swapped out the golden sponge cake with angel cake by Wonder Flavors, and then the yellow cake was just a swap out between Jungle Flavors and Flavor West.
And then Papa Chigley, who's in chat. Let me just welcome everybody in chat. So we've got Tam, we've got Papa Chigley here. Thank you so much for joining. Everybody that's going to watch on the replay, thanks for watching, guys. But then we've got Papa Chigley also playing along very nicely with us. Let me quickly just go see if I can find that. Let me share my entire screen. So for some reason, I just have to just reload this. Just give me a sec. Okay, so it's reloaded. Now I just want to share. Okay, so let me share the whole screen. Can you guys see?
You've got like a matrix thing going. It's like now you're sharing me.
Okay, I don't know. I'm just going to stop sharing. I don't know what's happening.
Me.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so I'm just going to read Papa Chigley's recipe out so that we can see what route he's gone. I'm going to throw that. Papa Chigley, hopefully I can throw that out in chat. If you don't want me, I can delete it. You just let me know. I'm just putting it out in chat for now. Mohammed has just joined in chat. Welcome, Mohammed. So he's got yellow cake Flavor West at 2%. Then he's got fluffy white cake from Wonder Flavors at 1%. Okay.
Nice.
Then of course, the golden syrup VTA, which I think is, fundamental in this recipe. He's also got vanilla pudding in there. And then he uses orange marmalade from VTA in there, right? With apricot, Armenia. That's his, apricot sort of jammy layer. And then he also has creme brulee VTA, and he's got cream milky undertone in there. Okay. And I think the cream milky undertone and the creme brulee together is supposed to give the custard note, if I'm not mistaken here. But this looks like a complete recipe. This is the V4 now for Papa Chigley. And I'm going to be mixing this up. I'm missing a couple of flavors here, but I definitely want to mix this up. Papa Chigley has been playing along with us. He's actually baked Malva pudding for point of reference. So hardcore, dude, hardcore.
That looks very nice. I like the creme brulee. I prefer Inawera creme brulee, so I'll do this version, but I'll just sub the BTA with Inawera. But that looks awesome as it is. Yeah, I've got them all.
Okay, so we have those 2 bases, right? And we just spoke about them. Now, for what we want to do, we decided prior to the show that the better version was version 1, which is the OOO Sponge Cake with Flavor West Yellow Cake, then with VT Golden Syrup and Flavora Vanilla Pudding. However, we also said that we could potentially just drop out that Flavor West Yellow Cake and put in some JF. Yes. Where was your mind at with that, Rudy?
Yeah, so I'm one of the unfortunate souls that detest Flavor West Yellow Cake. It's got that similar to the vanilla bean ice cream with the pepper note. I get a bit very off note on the yellow cake, almost a soury note, that acidy note that I get from it, unfortunately. So I don't get that in the yellow cake. So I prefer the Jungle Flavors yellow cake by far. I mean, I sub it one-on-one in any recipe that calls for yellow cake. So I made this version 1 using Flavor West, and then I made another version using the Jungle Flavors, and I prefer the Jungle Flavors version. It's just it doesn't have some of those off notes that I find. Although, I mean, I understand that Flavor West yellow cake is the best around. I just prefer the Jungle Flavors, and the overall taste profile is still the same. It just blends nicer into this for me. So all the elements are there. It's got a very nice structure, but it needs a little bit of brownness. That brown baked pudding, oven pudding note is missing there. So we just need to play getting something in there. And I like Papa Chigli's idea of the creme brulee as an option. There's other couple of things that we could probably try and do, but it's missing that at the moment. But a nice start to then lay the foundation and then add the complementary flavors to it.
Yeah, most certainly, it's a beautiful cake layer on its own. I mean, you can excuse me, you can take this cake layer with OOO Golden Sponge Cake and Jungle Flavors Yellow Cake, pretty much 1% for sponge cake and 1.2% for yellow cake, with a little bit of 1% of golden syrup, and then 0.5% vanilla pudding, and you have a solid, really solid yellow cake.
Yeah.
This is what I feel, what Rudy is saying is true. I just tried it now. It's super solid yellow cake, probably better than what Flavor West is on its own. For me, the only thing missing in there is like that darkness. And I don't know if, we previously used Wonder Flavor caramel butter or, something like that. And it was just too caramel for me.
What percentage did you put in?
1%, which I think was too high.
Too much.
So if we were going to use it again, what I like about it, it's got a beautiful butter note, in it, which this needs. It still needs. I mean, it's quite buttery, but it sells that sort of moistness that this has to have, right? So more butter is not going to be a bad thing here. Then, but then it's got that distinct caramel in there, and it kind of takes away from that spongy yellow cake that's got like a brown sort of apricot baked into it. I don't know how to describe it better.
And if you drop it a bit, so maybe 0.5, just to give some of its goodness to it. Because if you say it added that caramel, because this is what this one it has, but it needs a little bit of that extra kick just to take it forward. So option.
There's one thing I want to quickly try, which smells quite promising, and that I got specific and I did some research on it. So, if this fails, then, we kind of back to that caramel butter. But this caramel toffee from Hankson, I don't know if you can see it, but Hankson caramel toffee, it smells, it's got that darkness to it, but the caramel note is just not that prominent. The toffee, because that's kind of what it reminds me of, Malva, like a toffee pudding, or it has a lot of elements that a toffee pudding would kind of have. So I want to give this a bash and see how it goes.
Good.
I'll just spin that up, and then once we. What else do you think we can handle? I'll give that out to people in chat. What else do you think we can use to get like a, I wouldn't say caramel, closer to toffee, sort of darkness into the cake, but it mustn't distract you. It must just bring like a darker element to a yellow cake. So, think about a very moist yellow cake that has been in the oven for long, and it's gone from yellow, it's gone to like a light brown, and on the outside almost like a dark brown. So it's a well-baked yellow cake, right? So what would bring that element? So I'm throwing that out to chat. Have you got any ideas, Rudy?
Well, my ideas are usually a little bit off the wall, but maybe something like a molasses to give a nice dark note to it. But molasses can be a bit off-putting if used incorrectly. I like the creme brulee version.
Oh yeah.
I think that creme brulee, because the creme brulee, what it does bring is so it takes care of some of the custard part, and it's got that caramelized brown sugar vibe to it. It will give it that baked version. Smoked butterscotch, Tam Vapes suggested. That's also a very good suggestion. Your molasses, and then the liquid amber, as you suggested earlier, just to bring some of the fruit that we'll bring in later, with the apricot. The liquid amber will do that trick as well, because it brings that cooked in element to it that I think will definitely transform it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just quickly going to try this. I've got, of course, a big sample mixed up, and now I'm just quickly mixing in some caramel toffee just to get a sense of what it's doing in the mix. So let me give this a try. Sorry, I'm just going to... it does bring... It does bring a distinct toffee note to it. I mean, and it's kind of a top note, which would be in the way of the apricot. But there is definitely some darkness that it brings. But I wonder if, if we use this, if the apricot, if it's now whatever we use in Awera, FA, or if we use TFA, if that will work well with that toffee at the top.
I think just on the apricot is a very gentle part of it, and it's there to provide in different dimensions. So it brings a little bit of tartness to the sweetness, and it balances it out. And it's traditionally done with a smooth apricot jam. And sometimes there's apricot that guys will use. But apricot must be used very delicately, and I think giving it some extra body with the liquid amber, use sparingly both of them, just to give that note. You don't want it to be an apricot heavy pudding. The apricot must be faint, but it must be noticeable, but just so. It mustn't overpower it all.
I'm liking this. I'm liking this HS caramel toffee more than what the caramel butter is doing for me. It feels like it is making it a little bit a little bit darker. That toffee is definitely doing that with the caramel, but the caramel note is a little bit lighter. I just used it at about, I would say 0.5, maybe even a little bit more, actually, about 1%. I used it at about 1%.
Nice. Sounds good. Yeah, I've got it. I'll give it a go.
What I really like about this is, what we've definitely nailed in here is the moistness. This cake is, it's moist, and it's not dry. It's not a dry sponge cake. It's super moist. And I mean, just on its own, it's actually rather delicious. You could use this for even like a really moist cupcake, very delicious. Tam Vapes is saying, I love Hangson caramel toffee though. Yeah, I agree with you. Robert Knight, we are using VT Golden Syrup in here already. Oh, Nick Evans, my boy Nick Evs. Welcome, dude. Welcome to the chat. So, do you think we need to try out some of these apricots in here?
Yeah, so I think this caramel toffee is definitely then something that sounds that it will work. Definitely. I mean, I'll give it a mix. I'll add that to my version 1 using the Jungle Flavors yellow cake. Also around about 0.5 then, or 0.75 perhaps.
Yeah, you can. I mean, you can start low, see how it goes, and then you can pump it up from there. You know?
Okay. So on apricots, I mean, so there's basically 3 contenders. So you've got Inuero apricot, which is extremely powerful and strong and overbearing, and it must literally be used at 0.1, 0.2, 0.25 max. I've made some versions of a Malva pudding with a premix that we get locally, a Malva pudding premix, and the Inuero sort of spoiled it completely. It is a very authentic, almost sour apricot. It doesn't have much sweetness to it, although it's very authentic. It is very. It's difficult to work with. Let's put it that way. But it's a beautiful product if used right. And then we've got TFA and FA. I know Richard likes the TFA version. I prefer.
Sharp. It's a little bit. It's quite sharp. It's gonna be distinct in the mix, but it is beautiful. I mean, I understand why Richard enjoys this. Just going off the scent, it really smells delicious.
It is nice. It must be used at a higher percentage, obviously, than opposed to the FA. FA about 0.5, probably. I mean, it could work at 0.25 as well. It is strong. So I think we should start at 0.25 and work up if we do the FA version. And on TFA 0.5, I think that is what Richard used it as. He did a 0.5 on the TFA apricot. I would like to do both and do a 0.25 FA version and then a 0.5 TFA version.
Okay.
Just for that little bit of, and then of course then we need to just decide from that whether we need to add the liquid amber just to give it that darkness.
Okay, wicked. So I've got the 1 sample spinning up now with FA. Just want to get that mixed up. Let's do the TFA.
FA 0.25. We do the same.
No, Nick Evans, I don't have CCW cream fudge. That's not something I have, but I'll see. I'll see if I can find it. Yeah, the TFA is. I mean, I can even just that low. I can pick it out in the mix just by smelling it.
Yeah.
At 0.5, you know, of course that will settle a little bit.
I want to do the same here, quick. Uh, 0.05. So it's literally like 1 or 2 drops.
Yeah, I kind of I always do 5 ml samples, and then I have an idea of where 0.25 sits. 0.5 sits. Yeah. I'm not. You tell me what you think about the TFA.
I'm doing FA because that's my favorite. So I've done FA first.
So on FA at 0.25,
Yeah, it's
it's
nothing there.
it's almost nothing there. It
Yeah.
almost feels like, and I mean, I've got about 0.75% of the Hangson caramel toffee in, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you have to up that quite a bit, probably to about 1. You just add a bit more.
But yeah, on the TFA one, you know, it feels like the FA Armenia is smelling a lot more jammy, though. You know,
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
TFA. TFA is just an extremely authentic, almost. I think if you push it, maybe could become slightly perfumey.
Yes, it does. I'm
This
just
is
trying
just
another.
so distinct. You know, it doesn't blend, because what happens with the Malva pudding is that apricot jam, it it sort of seeps into the cake. You know what I mean? So you can't distinctly taste it,
Yeah.
but you can taste there's like something wacky going on with the cake. You know what I mean?
And it's sweet and sticky and not acidic at all, not perfumey.
Yeah.
Okay, 0.5 is good on FA. Probably do a drop more.
Yeah, I pushed it a little bit more. I went up to about 0.7,
0.75. Yeah, that's
0.6.
where
Yeah.
I'm on 0.75 now.
But it is fighting for a little bit of limelight there.
Yeah. It
You
might
know?
pull through a bit on the steep, just so that
Yeah.
it can just get through and fight with all the other ingredients that's already steep now. So we're putting a fresh fruit on top of the established stuff. So it might just need a little bit of time just to set in.
Pull through. Okay, that's where it's at. Okay.
Yeah. This comes in.
So what, 0.75?
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere between 0.75, 0.8, 0.85. That's where I'm at. I can taste it, but it's not overshining the cake, which is kind of perfect.
Yeah. It needs a touch more sweetness, but I think that will come with the caramel butter, the caramel toffee.
Yeah, I dripped some Flavor West sweetener into my base, so I put in 0.3%, and it was perfect. What is happening in chat? Okay, that will add butter, that toffee vibe that you want. It will lift whatever custard you put on top of it. Okay, okay, Nick. Noted. I'll definitely get it. Graham saying, I find TFA apricot a bit sweet. I use it often to brighten fruity vapes. Yeah, I can see that working. It's got such a beautiful, you know, very high, distinct top note that if you put that in a mix, it might, you know, super low. It might just, you know, elevate whatever fruit you're using it with. This Malva pudding has been in the oven for 4 weeks now. Yeah, yeah. It's not easy, Nick. This is not easy. Look, vaping has been around in South Africa for how long now, Rudy?
Probably a good I think mainstream, like better part of 3 years. Sort of niche, a good 8 to 10 years. Some of the veterans from the forum is about 8 years, 10 years going. I think a full-on commercial 5, maybe 3 to 5 years. Maybe I'm cutting a bit short, but definitely the last 3 years there's a big boom.
Big boom.
Yeah, 5. So the DIY guys have been mixing locally for about 5 years or so. The recipes have been developed and released.
And out of all those years, have you tasted a solid Malva pudding recipe yet?
There's honestly been very few attempts because it's a relatively it's a simple yet very complex profile. And the only one that came close was a premix, a sort of a one shot, better term, by our friends Claronic that does a Malva concentrate. And they've summarized it, but I find it too sweet. It is it's got all the elements of a Malva, but that was designed in a lab, so there are no individual ingredients used there. But so it's like some of the other South African desserts. It's tricky to nail, like a Cook Sister, the milk tart we did. There's a few of these enigmas that's floating around, and I think we're onto something here.
Where was I? I think I put in about I think I put 0.75% of HS in it.
Yeah.
HS caramel toffee, and then 0.75. Let's call it 0.8. I think I went slightly higher, 0.8 percent Armenia, FA Armenia, and I can taste it, and it's just at the right. It's somewhere between 0.75 and 0.8.
Yeah.
Armenia. Okay, so this is kind of where I'm at. I'm just going to pop this in chat so y'all can see what I'm talking about. This is where I'm at with this recipe.
How much? Sorry, the caramel toffee, was it by 0.5?
0.75 HS caramel toffee, yeah.
Got it.
And then Armenia.
Yeah, 0.5.
Yeah. So this is where I'm at right now. What do you think about the Armenia? Do you think we should just quickly test it with a little bit of liquid amber?
You can. I don't have my liquid amber handy. I must go and fetch it. But the liquid amber is going to take some time to work through it. So that's not an instant. You can put it in to see what it does, but it also needs a bit of time just to settle.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. So on liquid amber, what do you recommend?
Not high at all. Also, I mean, probably 0.5, 0.75 on the liquid amber. So, I mean, the problem is that it can. 0.5 is probably the magic, and stretch it. I mean, again, rather be cautious and do. Yeah.
I went 0.5.
Yeah, 0.5 I think is probably, so 0.5 is the most popular use for it, or and it just gives that little bit of extra that it does. I mean, some recipes as low as 0.25, but it might be lost completely in here together with the heavy cake. The 0.5 I would imagine is the winner.
Look, I'm not expecting this to be everything now because of course it hasn't steeped, but I can get an idea.
Yeah.
It definitely it feels like the apricot is just a little bit more, how can I say, cooked?
Yeah. It just finishes it off, so it doesn't have that rawness to it.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I'm getting. Where the apricot, I could just taste something kind of fruity, something like an apricot. I feel that the liquid amber made the apricot stand out slightly more.
Yeah. Cool.
Wow. Okay. I'm down. I'm into this. Yeah, I think it needs to be there, Rudy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let this steep now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put in 0.5% liquid amber. Okay.
We're going to be on 7 ingredients now, which is far from my comfort zone. I usually do 3 or 4 max. 7 is, but that's needed. But it's in small. It's a complex base, so we probably need it.
Yeah. What do you think about the FLV vanilla pudding?
Well, I don't know what it does if it's not there. What I think it does do is assists with the custard layer that we want to bring in. Because there are 2 ways of eating Malva pudding. So firstly, it must be hot out of the oven. This doesn't taste the same if it's cold. And then there's 2 ways to eat it, either with a nice rich vanilla ice cream or with a nice warm, very creamy, very deep custard. So my previous versions of Malva pudding involved both. So I did one with custard and one with ice cream. The custard one never quite panned out because the custard got lost with the base because it is so heavy. The custard was there, but it never stood out. I used all the custards known to man, and I couldn't get it. So I think to answer your question, I think what the vanilla pudding does here is it adds that little bit of a custardiness, a vanilla pudding vibe to it, without being overtly so. And it's not detracting from the main cake. There's possibly we could possibly increase it slightly, that vanilla pudding, to act as the custard without introducing another ingredient. So if we're now going to add, let's say, Nerero custard at 2% in here, it might get totally lost or muddy the whole mix. We can give it a go, but I'm just from previous experience, the custard never really worked well with it. It's there, but it didn't sit proudly as that luscious topping that you get. And then, of course, another option is to do an ice cream. But in here, it is difficult to separate that because now I've got a cake layer, we've got an apricot layer that goes in between. Now we're going to introduce an ice cream or a custard. And it's difficult in vaping to try and get those 3 or 4 distinct layers. So it might just become muddy. So a suggestion is to perhaps leave it as it is, perhaps as an option, increase that vanilla pudding because it's nice and neutral, or take a chance or do another version with custard and see if we can make it sit on top of the base. But it's a tricky one.
It is a tricky one. The quick custard option from Fresho 3 is 4% LB vanilla ice cream and then 0.5% vanilla pudding, right? And that's a quick sort of shake and vape custard. So look, it's nowhere as rich as in a wearer or as beautiful as custard premium, right. But it definitely hits the mark as far as the shake and vape goes. This if we do that, I can quickly add it in here. Either
that or the creme brulee, because the creme brulee also fulfills 2 roles here. So it gives a bit of darkness, it gives that brown caramelized sugar vibe, and it gives the custard all in one. So there's no need for another one. So that's another route, and the guys on the chat are also agreeing that
creme brulee
is probably where to go. I haven't tried the Vape Train creme brulee. I'm a Inawera fan. I've only been using Inawera, and I find it to be my favorite. We can give it a go with the Vape Train. I'm not sure what it tastes like. I've never tried it. Have you tried it too? The Vape Train creme brulee?
No. I can just remember reading a review of it and then posting it to you to say, hey, this is potentially something that you need to check out.
Good.
Yeah, I added LB vanilla ice cream at 1%. I mean, I know that's super low, but it's barely noticeable. You know,
Yeah.
the vanilla ice cream also brings in another vanilla note. In
And
a
it's another, and sweetness.
and sweetness.
Yeah.
The creme brulee, does it have a vanilla note in it?
There is a bit of vanilla. There's definitely vanilla, a nice spice, not spicy as in spicy, but a nice fresh vanilla, an authentic vanilla, not a cheap store-baked vanilla. But it's a nice, in a rarer standard, deep vanilla that's in it, a nice dark vanilla.
Now, after about the second vape on this, it actually was quite lovely. It is slightly muddled, like you were saying. You know, they are merging together. So the whole idea is to have them slightly apart.
Yeah.
But it's almost like, you know, I know a few people have different ways of determining where the layers are. And for me, always, it's what I can taste on my tongue, what I can taste on my palate, at the top, sort of like in the sides of my mouth. That's how I just sort of try and establish, am I getting the same thing throughout my entire mouth? Or is there something different on my palate at the top and something different, you know, on my tongue and sort of on the side of my mouth? And with this, LB vanilla at about 1%, about 1.5%, it does feel like there is a slight separation, you know. So of course there's fusion in the middle, right?
Yeah.
But it's not entirely muddled. I'm not sure what it's going to do after the steep, though.
Yeah, what to get? Well, yeah. So you're gonna have to push it probably to about 2 to get its real potential in there. But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, we can mix it up and see.
Yeah. Okay. So this is what I'm going to be putting. We've got I put the liquid amber there. I put the Armenia there at 0.8. I put the liquid amber at 0.5. Okay. Look, there's still a fine tweaking that can happen with this recipe, but you know, it's kind of there. Now I think this is the big test now. So previously we said we want to try it with a couple of custards.
Yeah.
So we've got the base. I'm going to put the base in the description of this video. And then what I'll do is, you know, I'm going to mix it up in a big batch and I'm going to try it with a lot of custard. So, you know, shout out to chat. Is there any custards that you think that's going to separate? We're finally there. This is the last step. It's been a 4-week exercise. Of course, there was a couple of off weeks in between. But I think we pretty much there. So, you know, the chat and Rudy was shouting out, you know, we're a creme brulee, right?
Yeah, I think I get similar things from the creme brulee and the custard. To me, they're similar. But the creme brulee it has a different vibe to it. It's got the creme brulee vibe. So, I mean, the burnt sugar. It's got a deeper custardy note to it. I think it'll work well, yeah, but we can try different versions. I mean, by all means, we can try.
Absolutely, yeah. I really think LB vanilla ice cream should be in the run here. Considering where we are with the flavor percentages, right? And we're a creme brulee, where would you start with that?
Well, it's pretty potent, so I usually use it as a sort of a top note to finish off at about 1, max 2%. I've done it at 3% in 1 or 2 recipes, but I think 1.5 is probably about the max because it can overpower. So one for this application, I think will fit the bill. it does have a strong. It can be overpowering if used over one. So 1% I think is perfect.
Yeah. So I think we need to do LB vanilla ice cream at 2% for it to stand up a little bit. Then we've got Nick Evans saying VT warm custard and FA premium is good for separation. VT warm custard is, I didn't even know that existed.
We don't have, yeah, we've got a limited range here, Nick. We've only got, we've got some of the basics. I've never seen that warm custard available locally. I'll have a quick look from our. If you warm custard.
Man, this Malva base is so smooth.
Banging.
Yay, it's so banging. I'm actually quite surprised. It's like a, smooth, moist cake layer. And then you just, get that coating of apricot sort of on your palate.
Yeah.
That you just sort of like lick off afterwards, It's quite something.
Nice.
I think we're definitely hitting a nerve with this base, this Malva base. It's just the custard now. Okay, a couple of custards that I've put out in front of me.
Yeah.
I just randomly bought vanilla custard from OOO. Okay, I have no idea what this tastes like, but it doesn't smell fantastic. Okay,
I tried the new Molenberry custard today.
Legendary custard.
Legendary custard. I'm unfortunately very, very biased towards Inawera custard. Now I can't use any other custard. I get that same soury butyric acid note from most custards, and it's good. It's also got a warm custard vibe to it. The legendary custard by Molenberry, but it's not. I won't mix with it. I'm not going to use it in anything else.
Let's try 1% FLV vanilla custard, because it really smells delicious. I just gave it a whiff. I don't know how it's going to vape. I still have to test it. Have you tried Flavor West vanilla custard?
I have tried them all. I can't.
Smell very good. Yeah, it doesn't smell very good.
No, it's not my favorite. I'll try and be nice. I don't like it at all.
It's not my favorite. It smells bizarre. It doesn't smell like a custard. It smells like
sunlight liquid. Yeah,
yes. It smells like some, like
detergent.
like detergent. Yes.
Yeah. No, it's not a pleasant experience.
What is going on here?
Flavor Ways do many good things, but custard unfortunately is not one of them. Yeah, okay. Nick, just by the way, we don't have vape train custard, the warm custard. We've only got the banana one, the banana custard locally. We'll get a greater stash here one day, but it's not available locally, unfortunately.
Okay, so I've gone with 2% Molenberry Legendary Custard.
Yeah.
Nick Evans, if considering the recipe now, what are we on a total here? One that's 2.23. That's 4. That's 5.
I'm on 6.5, excluding the custard. I'm on 6.5.
Yeah.
Including creme brulee at 1.
Yeah, including creme brulee. Yeah. Okay, so I'm at about 5, excluding creme brulee. So Nick, shout out quickly what you think we need to put legendary custard in that. But we've pretty much at the final step. I'm going to take this information now. I'm going to put it in the description of this video. So the whole idea here is, we need people, we need pallets, This mustn't just appeal to us, it needs to appeal to a wide audience. So I'm going to just put this out in the description of the video. And then, we want people to just tell us where it's at. So we've got the whole Malva pudding base. So you need to mix up the base and then take that base. If you've mixed up like 30 mils of that, split that into, a bunch of 5 mils, and then, drip in some of these custards. And then we need to see what hits the mark and what doesn't. The whole idea is we know now that the Malva base is nice and moist.
Yeah.
The whole idea now is we need to have separation, from a custard perspective. So it mustn't be muddled. You must get the cake, must get a slight hint of the apricot, and you need to be able to get the custard as well. If we can achieve that, I think we've achieved something quite brilliant,
Yeah.
For anything three separate layers, or at least 3 layers with some fusion in the middle. It's gonna be beautiful. So Nick is saying 2.5%, so I'm just changing it to 2.5. And that brings us to the end of the show, guys. I just want to thank everybody that has joined in us in this craziness. Rudy for co-hosting with me tonight. Thank you so much, Rudy.
No problem. Anytime. Well,
Yeah.
except for the next 2 months, but today is fine.
No, that's a lot of help. Thank you so much. Everybody in chat, Papa Chiki playing along, Mohammed joining in, Nick Evans always around, Tam Vapes, Xylon, welcome, dude. I think you hopped in just slightly later on, but you can check the replay. Sub Vapes, thank you so much. James Rivera, Jeff Lawson, Graham, I'm not sure if he's still there, Robert Knight, and that pretty much is everyone, I believe.
Time Vapes.
Yeah, Sub Vapes, yeah.
Oh, that's it. Good.
That's it. Okay, guys, that pretty much brings us to the end of the show. Please leave in the comments if we've missed out on anything, if we've forgotten anything, if we're not thinking about something. Leave those in the comments of this video. But you can find the final episode on this before we actually do a roast next week. So I'm going to see if I can get everybody together to help with the testing. Richard has to be here. Everybody has to be here so that we can get the final recipe together, because that will be going to judges. And, I'm hoping to get the judges that understand what Malva is. So that's going to be a bit of a thing to try and find that. So yeah, if there's anybody out there that has had a Malva that will judge for us, or is willing to bake a Malva and judge for us, that'd be super cool. It's going to be a roast. So
Papa Chigli's made one.
Papa Chigli made one. He has.
He's baked 2. Nice. Nice.
So yeah, Papa Chigli is doing the good work out in the US, baking Malva puddings, giving it to everyone. Yeah, so we definitely need everybody's input here, right?
Yeah.
It's not just a me or a you thing. Now, Papa Chigli, I'm going to be looking for all those ingredients this week, and I'm going to be mixing up yours as well. If yours is good, which I suspect, of course, it is, because you've been working hard on that. We might actually shortlist that, for the roast. So let me know if that's okay or not, right? Okay. Cool, guys.
Good.
Thank you very much. Thanks,
Okay.
Rudy.
Thanks.
Cheers, everyone in chat.
Sorry. Cheers.
Okay, guys. Bye-bye.